I don't think love exists. And I'm not picking on love because I don't think friendship exists either. Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornassek. This is episode 122, and thank you guys so much for listening to our show. Before we get started with the movie discussion, let's go around and meet the fellow bros. First, we go into the lab to the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Now, Banner, as a man of science and keen observation, guess what's in my drink?
I'm going to go with vodka Coke.
Ew.
Is that a drink?
No, it's not a drink. I wanted to say vodka, but then I realized that it looked brown, so...
No, it's clear.
Oh, well, your Backstreet Boys cup is very deceiving.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
It's a vodka water, right?
Yeah, Ronnie Cycli got me this cup at a Backstreet Boys concert in Vegas. So, thank you, Ronnie Cycli. Legally, I have to mention that.
Yeah.
It's a podcast. Next.
It's in our contract. It's weird.
And he wrote them, so we're at a huge disadvantage. Next, we go into the paint to our enforcer, Matt Geiger. Now, Matt, after your hot takes on the Godfather trilogy last week on our podcast, check it out, episode 121, did someone put a bloody horse's head in your bed? And if so, what's the plan for retaliation?
No, we didn't, because in typical mobster movie fashion, me and Mrs. Geiger went into Whitsec. We got a nice little house in a suburb in Utah, and we're going under the name The Wilsons now. So my name is Matt Wilson. Kept the first name, for pod reasons.
Right.
Obviously.
You've already said too much.
And Jeff, is in your drink a jar full of clear, to quote my most person I hated from last week, Luke Bryan?
No. Ew.
What?
I think that's what country guys call moonshine, for you guys that don't know. So Luke Bryan calls
Jesus
it.
Christ.
Why don't we just call it fucking
Jar
moonshine?
full of clear. I don't know.
Why don't we just make a pact right
Why
here?
would you take a first date catfishing?
Maybe if
There's
you
a lot of questions.
never want to
Maybe
see
she's
her
fat.
again.
Bryan need to answer.
God, you way to just take us down a peg. Luke Bryan reference right off the jump.
He sucks.
Well, speaking of that, last week we did the life of Matt Geiger in movies and music. And Matt, why don't you tell the people what we're doing this week for our chest day, which is the most important thing in any bro's life?
Love to, Jeff. Since movies are not in theaters, we got to come up with other ways to entertain ourselves. We know our fans love to know a little bit more about us. So, part 2, movies and music of our lives, the Jeff Hornassek edition. Jeff, are you ready? We're going to start with movies.
Woo! I'm ready.
All right. First off, the movie you can't stand.
So I think, Matt, I kind of took a page out of your book last week. I was like, let's get a little controversial. Let's try and stir up the pot this week. And Banner, I'm going to have to personally apologize to you and Cycli. I have given these movies a ton of chances. A ton of chances.
Oh my God, I know exactly where you're going. You gotta fucking
I think he's going to talk about a movie commentary we've done.
we have. I cannot stand the Harry Potter movies.
Wow.
The world building, I just don't get it. I think the acting's bad. I'm sure the books are great, but when I watch them, to me it feels like a bad Disney Channel original movie. It feels like Halloween Town 2. Now the Deathly Hallows.
That is Judas.
Put it in a body bag.
The Deathly Hallows I do like. That one's good, but I mean 2 out of 8. What are we? You'd be cut if that was your batting average. So the Harry Potters.
Wow.
Put
I don't
something
even know
up
what
his
to
nose,
say.
test it for COVID before you put it in that body bag. My God. Halloween Town 2?
That's...
Sorry. Notice I didn't say the first Halloween Town because I have too much reverence for that movie. I've given it a chance.
I mean, at least it's not Halloween Town 3.
Is Calabar still coming back in those fucking things?
I don't know. I'm not coming back in those
It's
things.
not that I can't stand Harry Potter. I'll just admit they're not for me. How about that? I think they're stupid, but they're not for me.
But I think Banner would agree with this. Like, everything about them I should like.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you don't like it. I think part of it too, though, is if you didn't kind of get into the books, because me and Cycling have talked about this in depth. We grew up with the books. Like I was in 5th grade when the first book came out, and it just like took the country by storm. So if you didn't hop on that train as a kid reading the books, I can see why you wouldn't like the movies as much. They cut a lot of stuff out that I'm not gonna lie. I like the story and the idea of the Harry Potters. I'm not as big of a fan of the movies because they have to leave so much story out.
Yeah, I remember going to, I think it was Barnes and Noble at midnight when the last book came out with Cycly, because he was so excited for it, and it was like a cultural phenomenon. It passed me by for whatever reason, and I just can't. I haven't seen the Fantastic Beasts movies, but that's because it's not my cup of tea.
You're not missing much on those.
All right, Banner, do you want to do the second one?
Yeah. Sorry, got a little distracted there. All right, so next one, Jeff. What is the most overrated movie?
So Geiger really got the people talking last week with his answer here when he said the Godfather trilogy.
I don't disagree with that, by the way. I wasn't on the pod, but
That's weird. I didn't know there's a Family Guy thing on it, but
Which, that's fine. Two people can
Yeah.
have the same opinion.
Yeah,
I
that's
think Matt brought up a good point, though. He goes, just because I say something's overrated doesn't mean I think it's bad. But the way people talk about it, they need to fucking chill out. And again, I'm normally not the hot take guy, but this is a movie that, like, I can't even get through now. It's so fucking long. It's just brutal. It's all dialogue until the last 20 minutes. A movie I think is way too overrated is Braveheart. I know it's historically significant. At the time, it was like a big deal. But, like, try and sit through Braveheart now. I mean, it is a chore. It's like The Irishman, but, like, with less acting.
I think it's used for memes more than anything now anyway. I have, maybe it's a Mel Gibson thing, but I haven't seen that on TV in a really long time. That used to be on TV a lot, but I haven't seen it for a really long time.
Because they got to pencil in like 4.5 hours block of programming.
Yeah.
If they want to put Braveheart on. And it's a competently made film, obviously. Like, it's historic. But, dude, anyone that says they like Braveheart, if you actually sat down with them and watched it now, they'd be like grinding their teeth trying to still defend it. It's great. You know that meme where the kid's like blood vessel in his head is about to bust?
I don't know if you'll get much pushback on that one, really.
Yeah, that one I
have
don't
no
think is
problem
as
with that.
controversial as you think it is.
All right. Maybe I just don't associate. I've distanced myself in my life from people that are diehard Braveheart fans.
There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. Underrated. What's the most underrated movie? Because these are also very interesting. Because it could be something you know or something you've maybe never seen before.
So this might not come as a surprise to people who know me, because I think this movie visually was like absolutely game-changing. And the soundtrack to it, I will defend as one of the top 10 soundtracks of the last 20 years. And that is Tron Legacy. The sequel to, obviously, Tron, which I never even saw, but I saw this one in theaters. Jeff Bridges, Garrett Hedlund, Olivia Wilde, and my mind was just absolutely blown. IMAX 3D, and I basically had a seizure in the theater while watching it. Worth it. And the soundtrack,
One of the best theater experiences ever.
Oh, yeah. And Daft Punk does the entire soundtrack, and it's just, there could not be a more perfect match between Daft Punk and Tron Legacy. I just think it's criminally underrated.
Not going to disagree there.
Ben, are you more a fan of the soundtrack or the movie? Like, do you actually like the movie or just really big?
Yeah, I actually really like the movie. I think it's way better than the original Tron, which I've sat through, and I don't know how I did. And I can't believe that people liked that back then, even. I apologize if you were one of those people, but I don't get it.
And Matt, this one, they teased Cillian Murphy as the villain in the next one, which still might happen, but who knows?
I think that will happen whenever we get movies back and those type of things. All right.
Jeff, movie you love.
Galaxy Quest.
Wow.
I mean, talk about like a feel-good movie. The cast 15, 20 years later is incredible to go back and look at. And I think it's more true now, like fan culture and like it's just like
it was ahead of its time.
That is a definition of a movie that was way ahead of its time. Because when it first came out, people were like, okay, like whatever.
It really is. Like Tim Allen playing the guy that like, has to go to Comic-Cons and he fucking hates it. But I think more than anything, Alan Rickman's character is just, and may he rest in peace, just speaks to me. He's sitting in the fucking makeup chair. They're painting on his like whatever his fucking head things, and there's nothing else happening in the scene, and he just goes, "I was King Lear." He's just like an actor who's like agent booked him this gig, and now all people want him to do is say his like stupid fucking catchphrase everywhere he goes. It's so perfect. It's so like comedically genius. And every time I go back and rewatch it, I catch something different. By the way, what's his fucking name? The guy who plays Dwight Schrute. That was his like first acting role.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the aliens. I can't think of his name right now.
Rainn
Wilson.
Rainn Wilson, yeah.
Yeah. So Galaxy Quest, absolutely love it. Can watch it anytime it's on TV.
All right, what is a movie that made you fall in love with film? Now, this could be maybe the first movie you've seen, or maybe, one that first R-rated movie you've seen. Be a plethora, a smorgasbord, if you will, of films.
And I thought about going with one from when I was a kid, but I went with a movie. Banner knows this probably better than anybody, but I love like creative framing devices, like movies set in one day, or movies that tell a story in a really interesting way. And the movie 500 Days of Summer is the movie that kind of made me fall in love with film for two reasons. Number one, it was the first time that I saw a movie and I like connected with it emotionally. The character in it is going through like a serious breakup. At the time, I think it was like 2010, 2011, I was going through something similar. But the framing device is incredible because 500 Days of Summer is referencing a girl named Summer and her relationship with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, not like the season. So the movie cuts forward and backwards to the early days of their relationship, which everyone can relate to when everything is fucking sunshines and rainbows.
Yeah.
And then
just get laid all the time. Doesn't even matter.
And then later on in the relationship, like day 492, when things are not so fucking good. And there's a quote that I love where they're basically like broken up, but they're still together at that point where like you're like, why do we even do this? All we do is fucking scream at each other in public places every time we go out.
So they're almost married?
Yeah, basically. But Summer, I can't remember Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character for some reason. Tom. Summer and Tom are at a diner, and two of their friends just got arrested for getting in a fight. And Summer's like, I mean, all we ever do is fight. We're like Sid and Nancy. And Tom goes, Summer, I mean, we have disagreements, but Sid stabbed Nancy with a kitchen knife. I hardly think we're that bad. And she goes, no, I'm Sid. And he goes, so I'm Nancy? And I butchered the line right there, but it's basically like the arguments in it are so real. And again, the way it was framed made me fall in love with the film. Now, Mark Webb, the director, unfortunately went on to do the two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
There's nothing wrong with them.
But kind of an artistic pick, but
I'm scared to death of you doing your list, Banner.
Oh,
It'll basically
are so excited.
Your list basically will just be the $1.99 bin at Walmart is what your list is going to be pretty much.
I think I'm the $5 bin. Thank you very much. Have a little respect for me.
Ask him.
All right, Jeff. What's a movie that you can watch over and over and over again?
All right, I know Matt's with me on this one. Anytime it's on TV, I don't care where we're at, I'm probably going to watch through to the end. And it's on TV a lot, so that's great. And that's The Breakup.
Yeah,
so good.
It's a great movie.
I mean, no matter where you pick it up, the thing is, like, no matter what scene it is, there's probably a great line in it. The scene I always catch it on is the one where he's in the nightclub, recently single with his brother, Cole Hauser, who's the villain in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yep.
He's just an absolute fucking sociopath trying to pick up women. And usually that scene's enough to hook me. If that's not, then the game night scene is enough to hook you. And if that's not, then the Madden scene is enough to hook you.
It's an interesting movie because in our group of friends that we hang out with, those movies, if we're like drinking at a barbecue and it's me, you, and Thurman and Banner, I would say at least 4 to 5 lines of The Breakup. Well, like the other day, my wife asked me to move a table and I moved it. She's like, you moved the table. I said, what my baby wants, my baby gets. You know that. And I say it all the time, but I think other people's group of friends, I don't know if they put this movie on as high a pedestal as the Broforce Squad does, which is interesting. It's very good combo.
Matt said to me the other day, I don't even remember the context, he goes, you're going to go man-to-man on me? What happens when I start making plays?
Such a great movie.
It's such bullshit. He plays with the 85 Bears. That game, he just
How the fuck? Like, he's playing with the actual Madden team. Like, he's playing with, I don't know, like the Eagles or something. And you're playing with one of the greatest defenses probably ever in history.
And Walter Payton. It's like, okay, cool, dude. Yeah, so The Breakup. Anytime it's on, I watch it. I've probably seen it like all the way through, maybe like 30 times in my life.
All right, what is a movie that changed your fucking life?
Didn't think this guy would make it on the list twice, considering I say I don't like him as an actor, but when I go look at him, I do love him, and it's the movie 50-50 with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen. There is a scene, if you haven't seen 50-50, I highly recommend it, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays like it's actually Anna Kendrick's like second or third movie too, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a 31-year-old who finds out that he has a pretty debilitating back cancer, totally unexpectedly. He's healthy. He eats well, like all this stuff. And it basically it's a dramedy about him sort of realizing like his own mortality and like the way he treated like his relationship with his parents and like sort of undervalued his friends. And there's a great line by Seth Rogen in it, who of course plays like the comedic relief, but sort of his endearing best friend, where he asks Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, okay, you have cancer, it's serious, what did the doctor say? He's like, well, he said the odds are 50-50. He's like, that's great. If you were a casino game, you'd have the best odds. He's like, and the thing about cancer, everyone survived. Lance Armstrong, he keeps getting it. So it's just a really, I don't know.
It's a comedy, but it's actually like set in real life, kind of.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these comedies aren't set in real life. It is one that makes you think, makes you feel about 18 different emotions, which most movies don't.
And Bryce Dallas Howard is a pretty funny role in it too. She plays Joseph Gordon-Levitt's girlfriend when he gets diagnosed.
Hot Bryce Dallas Howard? Is she just like, I'm acting Bryce Dallas Howard? Okay.
I mean, I'll actually say it's probably the hottest I've ever seen Bryce Dallas Howard.
I don't know. Her running in heels in Jurassic World's pretty fucking hot.
Let me say this. It's the youngest I've ever seen Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah. I mean, Banner has to see a T-Rex before he even gets aroused, so.
Yeah, I didn't even notice her, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. God,
All
look
right,
at that
Jeff.
T-Rex in the back. It's not even wearing a fucking mask. What a whore.
Look how it's dressed, yeah.
God. Those little tiny claw arms. Come on. Sexy. Jeff, movie that surprised you the most?
Top 5 movie I've seen in the last 5 years, Mission Impossible Fallout.
Boy.
I went into the theater. Matt, I was like you, bro. I was slouched in the chair. I was fucking rolling my eyes. Like, oh, Henry Cavill. Cool. Like, way to inject action into this franchise. 20 minutes in, I'm fucking leaning forward. I'm shouting things at the screen. I'm like, this franchise is fucking back. And then 10 minutes later, I go, who are you kidding? It never left. I was just absolutely blown away at how fucking awesome this movie is. I don't know if either of you will ever see it, but I've been pumping this thing up for like 2 years.
You have.
Yeah.
And the thing about it, Henry Cavill, I didn't mind him, I guess, as Superman. He's kind of a wet blanket to me, but when you put his name on top of a movie poster, does it make anyone be like, dude, I need to see that Henry Cavill's in it? Like, what? He has no personality. I mean, what has he done that makes people want to actually go see it?
I was rolling my eyes. Matt, that's exactly what I thought walking in. But I'm telling you, I tried.
My point for me.
I tried so hard to not like this movie. Like, I really did. But I fucking loved it. It's like a 9-10 out of 10. It's the best Mission Impossible movie. It's like a top 2 action movie of the past 10 years. It's just fucking incredible.
Wow.
It's insane.
All the John Wicks coming
All
out.
the John Wicks came out in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I would probably put John Wick, maybe one John Wick. You can take a pick is ahead of this, but this one's better than the other two.
Wow.
Golly. I don't even know what to say to that.
So yes, it surprised the fuck out of me.
If there's any viewers left, we'll keep going.
Matt, I think it's you.
Yeah, it's you, Matt.
Oh, my bad. Guilty pleasure.
All right, I have one that you guys know about and then one that you might not know about. Guilty pleasure movie is Bad Boys 2.
That's right.
It's just a fun action movie. Look, I'll do anything I can to not give Michael Bay praise, But the way that film is shot, specifically that one chase scene,
God, it's the best chase scene in the fucking. You sink a boat? How do you sink a boat?
It's fucking.
that motherfucker flipped.
Motherfucker.
But then two other movies that, dude, they're on HBO. They're like cheap, shitty horror movies. They're just so much fucking fun. It's the Unfriended movies, where they're told from like the point of view of a Skype call, and it's these teenagers that just start like crazy shit starts happening. They start freaking out. Try to watch that movie and tell me you didn't have a great time. It's impossible. They made two of them. The second one is the first one, Unfriended, is like kind of supernatural. The second one, Unfriended Dark Web, could like actually happen in real life. And if they don't make a third one, I'm gonna be fucking rioting in the streets. We need a third Unfriended. I think we can all agree.
Totally. Best theater experience.
Best theater experience. So, I mean, we're obviously excluding like the Avengers and Avengers Endgame. I'm gonna exclude like the movies of the past 10 years that you're like, well, yeah, those were like cinematic events. This is a movie that Matt has talked about a lot because of not only the cultural significance, but as a kid in 2002, like the experience of being at the pool and knowing you're going to see this later and just being absolutely captivated and taken away to the movies. And that's the very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man in 2002. I think, so I loved Batman in the comic. Like I read a shit ton of Batman comics as a kid, obviously. But in 2002, I had never actually seen a Batman on screen that I was like, oh, I get what they're doing from the comics. Because the Tim Burton ones just scared the shit out of me too much at the time. When I saw the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, I was like, this makes total sense to me. Like, I totally get it. I am this character, which now I know could not be less like Tobey Maguire.
It is honestly really good if you watch it again. I love that movie. I got my first HJ in that movie too. Fun little fact.
Damn. Well, I saw it with my mom, so different experience.
So you too?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But like Matt said, like being at the pool earlier in the day, like, dude, I'm gonna go fucking see Spider-Man tonight. The movie's like,
and X-Men came out, so you kind of knew what to expect. Like, okay, they're taking these a little more serious now. And this one, I mean, I'm not saying it was the fucking Dark Knight. I mean, it was Spider-Man, so it has to be a little fun, you know. But it was taken pretty serious, and it was a good fucking flick.
And I just thought his costume looked so fucking cool.
It did. It looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, I know we're not to music yet, but that Chad Kroeger and the guy from Saliva, that song fucked. I thought that was a good song for that.
That was a great soundtrack also.
I think that was the second one though. And they say that a hero.
I think that was the first one. I'm almost positive that was the first one. And the Upside Down Kiss with Kristen Dunst nipping in the rain.
God.
Jesus.
All right, someone's got to look up what song. Is it called Hero?
Hero. I'm almost positive that's the first one.
All right, someone look it up.
I don't know if we did this one with me, but we did. The last question is a movie you should have seen by now. I don't know if you wrote that one down.
Yeah, I did. And Matt, you might actually have to leave the podcast. Come over here and hang me, guys. I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Jesus Christ!
What the fuck?
I haven't seen it.
What's this guy's deal?
I don't know, son. I don't know. I haven't had the time.
That might be worse. Yeah, during COVID, that might be worse. Our Bonita Fish Big is Reservoir Dogs good? Yeah, it's a great fucking movie. It's one of Tarantino's best. You like Pulp Fiction, right?
No, I love Pulp Fiction.
Okay, you would really enjoy this. It's a little different. It takes a little longer to get going, but
it's more Tim Roth though, right? Because I love me some Tim Roth.
It's a lot of Tim Roth, yeah.
If Alex English is
Mark Madsen.
I less like Mark Madsen, but
you need to see it because it's all set around Super Sounds of the 70s. That's the radio station they listen to. It's really well done. And Tarantino's in it too. He's a character.
When this is, again, people at home are like, how do you have a fucking movie podcast and you don't know this? But did this come out after Pulp Fiction? And if so, how far?
It's one of his first movies, I think, is Reservoir Dogs. Pulp Fiction came out in like 95, I think, or 94 is one of that great movies. Reservoir Dogs came out in 92. I can double check that, but I'm almost positive.
Did anyone look up while we were talking about that what Spider-Man that Chad Kroeger song is from?
You don't have to look it up. I'm fucking positive. It's 1992's Reservoir Dogs. I'll look up Chad Kroeger, even though I fucking know.
All right. I'll move us on to our protein shake, which is the part of our show where we talk about what's in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. Now, Banner, I know we're all sharing one thing at the very end. How many other things have you watched, just so we know?
I actually only have one other thing, surprisingly.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and get that out of the way? What have you
So
watched?
I watched The Old Guard on Netflix with Charlize Theron. Guys, it's fucking good. It is very, very John Wick-esque in the way that the fighting is choreographed and shot. The idea of the movie, I think, it's something special, but it kind of, the way that it's told, it kind of makes you think about immortality, and it's interesting. And the guy, funny you said you hated Harry Potter, the kid who played Dudley Dursley, that's Harry's cousin in all the Harry Potter movies, he is the villain in this, and he is really good. I buy him as a crazy. Do what?
Is he like the goofy looking kid that ended up getting better looking?
I think you can say that about 15 people from that movie.
No, this kid looked like fucked up, like a horse, and now he's
no, that's a different guy.
Okay.
He's like barely in the Harry Potter movies, but anyway, he is really good. I was not expecting to see him act that well. He is a psychotic CEO of a pharmaceutical company and will literally stop at nothing to get what he wants.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is in it as well, right?
Yes.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy? I love me some Chiwetel.
Believe he is. Well.
Did you see the movie?
Yes. Well, it's hard to explain his character.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
But you hesitated when I even asked if he was in it. That's why I was confused.
Well, because I knew you were going to ask, like, how was he in it?
Oh, you're planning your next answer.
Yeah, sorry.
I've heard it sets up a very interesting premise for a sequel.
Yes, and I would love to see it. The only thing is, has Netflix done a sequel to any movies? Because they set up Triple Frontier also for a second one.
Yeah, the kissing booth, too.
Okay.
They probably haven't had time because everything's been shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally watch a franchise of this. This is a movie that I would have seen in theaters. There aren't very many that I think are released straight to Netflix that I would say, yeah, I would have gone to theaters to see that. This would have been cool to see in theaters.
I think Charlize Theron has or recently signed a Netflix deal. So really? She has like a couple pictures that she's like obligated to do. And I think the fan response to this has been pretty good. I've listened to a couple other podcasts and read some articles. I haven't read anything really negative about it. It's kind of like Extraction, right? Like it's just a safe bet that you're going to have fun when you watch it.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit more risky than Extraction. Extraction was just like very quick. Here's what we're getting in, we're getting out, and the rest is just fighting. This one has a little bit more story to it than Extraction, and it's a good thing.
So it had any story at all?
Yes.
More story than, and I'm not complaining. I loved Extraction.
I mean, I don't know if Extraction was fun to watch. I mean, it was like an adrenaline.
You didn't get the irony of Tyler Rake killing someone with a rake?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all I got, man. Other than the one that we share.
All right, Matt. I know what you watched. Let me get a couple of mine out of the way real quick, and then we'll end with the one we all watched. Does that sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Yep.
All right, so I watched. I'm trying to think. Yeah, more. Okay, this is the worst movie I've seen in the last 5 years. It's worse than Serenity, that Matthew McConaughey movie. And I'm shocked because the way Hulu presented this, I was like, dude, I'm gonna really enjoy this. This is a film that's on Hulu right now. It's a 2018 movie titled "The Con Is On."
The Con Is On. Jeff, I hate to break it to you, but I could have told you it was a bad movie based on the title.
Okay, you would say that, but it also has Uma Thurman, Tim Roth, Maggie Q, Sofia Vergara, Alice Eve.
I didn't say I wouldn't give it a shot.
Somewhere McConaughey's like, Jeff, you know, nothing's worse than Serenity.
Yeah.
Is Sofia Vergara, does she church up words with a lot of R's and stuff in it?
No, actually, I don't think Sofia Vergara really talks like that because she talks completely differently in this movie. Crispin Glover is in it. This thing is the most incompetent piece of filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. I've seen student news broadcasts finished on Final Cut Pro that were better edited than this. It's just a bunch of scenes of Tim Roth pouring himself a drink. People make weird fucking jokes. Someone gets shot. It makes no goddamn sense at all. How did you talk Uma Thurman into doing this? And on top of it all, they make Uma Thurman... This is what makes no sense. Uma Thurman does a British accent. And then Maggie Q, who is a world-renowned Chinese actress, plays a Russian.
That's a pretty good cast.
Huh.
Exactly. That's why we watched it.
Was it a Hulu original?
No, it's like a comedy heist movie, but it's a fucking train wreck. And I'm not going to sit here and act like there aren't a few laughs along the way, but this was the longest hour and 30 minutes of my life. I mean, now I get why Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra got divorced. It's not the time, it's how much it wears you down. I mean, this was an hour, 30 minutes, and we had to pause it like twice. I'm like, hey, let's just fucking stretch our legs. I mean, and Crispin Glover's in it, and he is, I don't know, man.
It's
Anytime
worse than
Crispin-
Chopping Mall?
Yeah, Chopping Mall's at least fun.
I guess.
This thing's just like getting your fucking teeth pulled, dude. And at least Serenity, like, I won't spoil it if anyone wants to go see it, but the ending, you just laugh at it. You're like, that's so dumb. This thing is just, it's like this director was like, dude, I don't know. Watch these guys give me $15 million to make a movie. Watch, they will. And they did. And somehow he got big names in it.
That's awesome.
I want my money back.
Look, some coaches can recruit, some coaches can coach.
And some coaches just can't do anything at all.
But they have
Bingo.
money and they pay them.
Bingo.
Bingo. All right. One other thing I watched that Matt saw a few weeks ago, and he recommended to me, was the MLB Network documentary Junior
Yes.
on Ken Griffey Jr. This is great, man. I mean, it was like an hour, 5 minutes. It's on YouTube actually right now for free. That Matt sent it over to me. That's where I watched it. And just as a fan of, obviously, Ken Griffey Jr., because I like badass fucking athletes, but of mid to late 90s MLB baseball too, which I think as the years go on, I'm going to romanticize more and more. Like, the steroid era to me does not have a negative connotation.
Nope, I love it.
Not at all.
I'm like,
It's
dude,
just like the steroid era in wrestling. I'm like, yep, that's the greatest time ever. I don't know why people were so pissy.
Yeah, those are the most fun nights to tune in at 7:05 and watch a bunch of fucking juiced out dudes blast the ball over the fence. Like, yeah, that sounds miserable. Who cares how you look back at it in 20 years?
Awesome.
And I say that knowing that Ken Griffey Jr., I don't think at all took steroids, and it's never been linked to them. But that era was great. A few things that, Matt, that I want to talk about that I don't know if you got to mention. First off, what the fuck is LeBron doing in this documentary? Go home,
He's
dude.
LeBron, and he wants to be relevant. I hated when he said, yeah, when Junior moved to Cincinnati, only me and him are the only two people that know what it's like to have a city, on our shoulders. I'm like, LeBron, get out of here, man. Like, you had
I don't
to
really think
have weight
Cincinnati
carry you
was
to your
put on
first
Griffey's
ring.
shoulders.
He's talking about Seattle, but
No, Cincinnati, because
oh.
when he moved back there, that's where he's from. So
I was
LeBron's
thinking
saying, like, I won a championship where I'm from, and Junior tried to do it, but he couldn't accomplish it or something.
Well, I was thinking, sorry, you're right. I was thinking of the line where he said, I know what it's like to be a 19-year-old phenom, and the whole franchise leans on you. That, again, he found some way to make a Ken Griffey Jr. documentary about himself. And normally I wouldn't mind, but Matt can attest to this. Dude, they interview him a lot in this.
Yeah,
like
they
the way
do.
Did he executive produce it?
There's no way.
I
don't know.
know
He's
if
been
it's on
throwing
the
his
MLB
money
network.
around executive producing a ton of shit.
He is. He might have, actually.
Dude, if he EP'd this and put himself in it, that's like disgust. Even John Favreau would be like, and you put yourself in it?
Can't believe he's on my Lakers.
Oh, another great thing, Matt. I can't believe we didn't talk about this when you were referencing it. So, Banner, Griffey, you remember that great catch he made where he like jumped into the wall and broke his wrist catching a ball in like June or July of 94? Sorry, 95. So he's rehabbing, and he's getting really frustrated with his rehab because it's just taking forever. So he would show up, play catch, do whatever they wanted him to do for rehab, and then he would leave the kingdom. He was like, I couldn't even watch the games because I would just like, I would try and grab a bat or do something stupid. So it's a regular season game in like late July, early August. Mariners are playing the Yankees, and they kind of know they're going to meet in the playoffs. Like if things work out that way, things are getting chippy. A couple guys get hit. And Griffey said he was watching the game at home on TV, and he goes, and once I saw things were getting dicey, I got in my car, I drove to the Kingdom, and I put my uniform on and sat down in the bullpen and told them, if we fight, I'm fucking here with you guys. And it shows him in the bullpen with his fucking sling on, and the bullpen guys are like, dude, this is badass. You literally drove here from home just because you thought we might fight.
That's awesome.
I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever.
That's that's stuff that legends are made of.
Exactly, because it was to the point, like, I think each team had been hit, like, at least once. Maybe one team got hit twice.
And, and that was back whenever, like, they let them throw at each other, too.
Yeah. He was
pretty much
weird
as long as you
hybrid.
didn't hit him in the head, it was fine.
In baseball, even in the 90s, there was old school versus new school, and we're still at that same fight today. But Griffey was such a hybrid because he was so new school with the backwards cap and his swagger. But he's old school, too, because his dad was a Cincinnati Red that played on the Big Red machine. So he, like, brought it kind of together, which, you know, like Bryce Harper and some of those don't have the skins on the wall because, you know, their dad wasn't. I mean, Griffey Sr. wasn't the greatest player on that team. I mean, that was Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, but I mean, he was on that team that won
He knew who he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Matt, I think to your point too, he had an interesting combination of like being cocky and confident, but he wasn't like arrogant or like rude about it. You know,
he just had fun playing the game. It seemed like to me, pretty much.
It wasn't.
He didn't let the fame get to him.
Definitely not. In fact, I really don't even think he liked the cameras that much. He wasn't like shy, but he was never going to be the guy to like, you know, like LeBron with the fucking chalk before the game and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was never going to be.
God,
or the Kevin.
I had swingman cleats. I loved Griffey. So, and you know what's sad, Banner? I was telling Jeff this is whenever you bring up baseball now, like old school, people bring up McGuire and Bonds because of what they did wrong. But a lot of baseball conversations, people don't even bring up Griffey because he wasn't in that steroid conversation.
Yeah.
And that's a shame because just to bring up somebody because of what they did wrong, I mean, Griffey, in my opinion, is probably one of the top 5 players of all time. Definitely position players.
I don't know if he invented it, but he definitely perfected the blasting one out and pimp walking it to first.
Oh my God. And he had the prettiest swing of all
It
time.
was so gorgeous.
If you're talking about a 5-tool player, I mean, you can maybe convince me into like Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, but Griffey has to be right there too. He could do everything.
And that's why I got so mad at because he was clean in an era where everyone wasn't. And again, I don't care those guys did it, but like let's give Griffey the benefit of the doubt. When in the Long Gone Summer doc they go, I don't know what happened to Griffey in the home run race. He just wore down in July. I'm like, well, yeah, because he wasn't fucking injecting HGH in himself.
And it would have been interesting. You would have had to haul, but that one year of the strike shortened season, he did have like 42 with like a month and a half left to play.
Yeah,
he could have made a run.
I think he had his 40th home run the first game in August.
Yeah.
They were saying. Another thing, too, and this is coming from a guy who grew up in Seattle, but we get it, Macklemore. You're from Seattle. God. Because my problem with this, he's in all the Seahawks shit. He's not like that good of an artist to just get like carte blanche to show up in anything he wants. It's not like Eminem. Like if Eminem anything with Detroit, if he wanted to show up,
him or sure. Kid Rock, like we get that, but come on. You know, Nelly and Saint. If there's a Cardinals documentary, we have Nelly. I get it, sure.
Yeah. But it's like Macklemore. Was Thrift Shop fun? Sure. I had a blast. That was in 2007. You know, like we need to. It was a great week, but it's over. Last thing I had, and I'm a diehard Texas Rangers fan, even though I grew up in Seattle because I couldn't like the Mariners because of the movie Little Big League, which, tying it all in, Matt and I did a movie commentary on, which will be dropping, actually, I believe this week.
Wow.
But Matt, one thing that gave me PTSD just because I had to watch so many of these fucking games. So they show a bunch of clips of like Griffey hitting a bomb or doing something crazy. There's one game, it's in like a June game. They're playing the Rangers. He hits a fucking upper deck home run in the 6th inning to put Seattle up 11-0 against Texas. And I was like, oh, remember that feeling? Down 11-0, and we haven't even fucking hit in the 6th inning yet.
I'll just say, for a baseball fan, I think you're the biggest I've ever met because, like, what was the season, Jeff? The Texas Rangers, you watch every game, and they had, like, a losing record. They had like, Hank Blaylock was, like, their number one star.
Oh, yeah.
And you watch every game.
Probably
It's hard to say.
2007.
As a Raiders fan, I understand that. Like, I'd watch every game of a 4-12 season.
Matt's the guy that'll be like, his wife afterwards will be like, they tried really hard. He'll be like, did they?
They're getting better. Like, I guess.
All right, Matt, that's all I had for Junior. I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll share the one we all watched.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you guys are talking about streaming services. Apparently, they're really popular now. I don't know if you heard this thing called YouTube, but my 2 videos come from YouTube. As you know, the kids look to me, Banner, to set an example because I'm with them. I'm hip. I'm on TikTok and all that kind of shit. So I'm going to talk about the Red Table Jada Pinkett Smith video with Will Smith, and I'm also going to talk about the Kanye West presidential election thing he did. Let's start with Jada and Will Smith first. I watched this in the entirety, not just the 6 minutes where they're talking about their infidelities. And my God, what a ride. About 25 minutes, 28 minutes, about half an hour.
You're a stronger man than I am.
What a ride. Because at first they're just talking about their marriage and basically, you know, the Hollywood elite lecturing me about how my marriage could be better. And then they take a sudden U-turn and Jada just says how they took a break and she cheated on Will with, I guess this August guy's a rapper. Sorry, kids. The only reason I know he's a rapper, because this week, which I don't blame him, he came out with a new song about him fucking Jada Pinkett Smith, which why not capitalize on it right now, man? No one's doing anything. I even listened to it. It's an okay track, you know, whatever. Not my cup of tea. But is this weird, Banner? I mean, why come out and say this? Like what does this do well? The only people that are feeding that family is Will Smith. Jada Pinkett was on back in 92, and that is it. I don't count Gotham. That is all she's done. So Will Smith is the brand, and basically this made him look kind of bad.
Yeah, here's my thing. Who gives a fuck?
I don't care. I just want to know, what was the play? Like, was this just to get her views on YouTube? Because obviously we're on YouTube and we know all those views that she gets equals money, but they're not hurting for money, I don't think.
I would hope not. But I don't know. Unless there was some sort of prenup sign there, so she's hurting, but he's not. I don't know.
The thing I want to bring up with this, because as Hollywood couples know, there's a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of Hollywood couples. And I've always thought as a conspiracy theorist guy, I've always thought most of them are kind of arranged anyway, and they just kind of fuck around. But I mean, what do you guys think? Like 60%, or maybe bring up a Hollywood couple? Like, I'm thinking the Griffey list of people that did not do steroids, the Griffey list of Hollywood couples that I think are actually in love with each other. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are the first ones that come up, just because it's country. They have a little bit different values. They're not in the spotlight as much anymore. And I think that they're legitimate, but if someone told me they have arranged marriage too, I wouldn't really be surprised.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot.
I feel like Kurt Russell,
Goldie Hawn.
Well, they're open about being kind of swingers or open or whatever.
See, I want to believe that like John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are legit, and like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are legit. But I don't know. I mean, nothing would surprise me, sadly. Matt, this is kind of one of those things that I just would prefer to bury my head in the sand and pretend like it's real, it's true.
Just pretend it's the 90s again. Like, I don't need to know all your dirty secrets, okay? just sing your songs and try not to touch kids in front of me. Like,
but now to the whole point about the Jada Pinkett show, they're like, yeah, but what if we aired out our dirty secrets and we got some ad revenue from it? I'm like, well, that just sort of seems disgusting, but
it makes Will look so weak, and he's the breadwinner in that, and maybe that's what she wanted to do. I just don't understand why. I guess to switch Go ahead.
Sorry, Matt, you might have said this while I was taking a piss, but I wish Will would have just cut her off halfway through the interview and be like, I fucked Margot Robbie.
Yeah, I fucked the housekeeper yesterday. I mean,
Well, I fucked the
Margot
housekeeper,
Robbie's the
so.
ultimate trump card. But to switch, so I didn't understand that, but I do understand the Kanye thing. So I need to ask you guys questions. I mean, some of these quotes are great. Get Out was about me. Everyone knows this. When I was a kid, they studied my brain and it was too big for my skull. The doctor doesn't know how I'm going to live. But do you think Kanye's crazy? Because I think this is weird. Every time he does one of these, his album's scheduled to drop in 2 days. Do the Kardashians even care, or do they like the attention? And 3, I don't know if you guys know this, but Dave Chappelle went to Wyoming on Kanye's rants to go talk to him. And I've always been a fan of Dave Chappelle. And obviously, if you watch Chappelle's show, Kanye was on there all the time as musical guest. They're pretty tight. So what are your feelings about that? Those 3 questions.
Bannon, go first.
I think Kanye has lost his other loving mind. He has gone off the fucking deep end. I think that the Kardashians are like, well, this is good for business. And then to an extent, probably about halfway through that speech, they're like, yeah, this is good. And then they're like, we done fucked up for letting him talk.
Are they like Eric Roberts in The Dark Knight when he's like, yeah, you left the clown out of the box. Like, listen, man, I didn't know how bad this is going to get, okay? My bad.
I think it speaks to 2020, like how I watched this video and I was just so desensitized to it. I was like, this is like the most normal thing I've seen in 2 weeks. To answer your first question, though, Matt, is Kanye crazy? And you talk a lot about separating the artist from the person. So I'll answer this with 2 parts. Is Kanye crazy? I mean, yes, he is diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He has some mental issues, for sure. But he is a creative genius. Now, have I liked one of his albums in the last decade? No, I have not. But Homecoming is like a top 10 album of all time, I think.
College Dropout is up there. I mean, his...
Well, sorry, is that the album with Homecoming? The song, Do You Think About Me Now and Then? The Coldplay one about Chicago? I think
I'll have to look it up. His first 2 came out were fucking fire. Like, every goddamn song was fantastic.
Either way, he is a creative genius, but I think, as we've seen a lot of times, that drives people to insanity because they live in this world that is not the reality that actually exists. And to exacerbate that, go ahead and marry the Kardashians, who, to say they're vain and only interested in optics would be the biggest understatement in the history of the English language. So he had issues since his mom's passed away. Putting himself in that situation has only made things worse. And I kind of feel sorry for him because if you actually watch, like at the end, he is breaking down. Like,
yeah, he is
mentally and physically. Like his world is crumbling around him, and it's really tough.
Here's my thing: if you're like, obviously he's got his boys with him, right? He's got to. If you're one of his boys, why are you letting him do this?
Because I think this is the other tough part about being that level of celebrity. His boys at this point, I think, are just like Marcus from Labor of Love. The only people close to him in his life are those on his payroll.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know?
And that's what everyone... So the College Dropout was his first album with like Jesus
compare
Walks
Kanye to Marcus from Labor of Love?
I did, and I actually think it was a very apt analogy.
I'm super impressed because it was
Graduation was the... album you were talking about, Jeff. College Dropout was his first one with Jesus Walks and those ones. But that's the problem we've seen with so many celebrities, that if you have an opinion and you're like, hey man, you need to not do this, they cut you out of the circle.
Kevin Durant.
And yeah, the thing, so Chappelle comes in. Do you think this will help? Because I think Chappelle generally, he cares about people. I'm on the Chappelle train that I think he's a normal human, and he's going there to be like, dude, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?
And also, Chappelle has a history of overcoming a mental breakdown, right? Like, remember what happened to him? He just freaked out and went to Africa. And now, I mean, he's a different Dave Chappelle, I think we can all agree, than the one we had, like, prior to that happening in his life. But he seems to be very functional and, like, seems happy, relatively speaking. I know he got, like, really into fitness. His biceps now are, like, exploding out of his... Maybe that's part of his therapy. I just hope that... again, I just don't want to say anything negative about Kanye, and then in a year we're like, oh man, this ended in tragedy. You know,
honestly, I'll have to say there's sometimes it comes out kind of weirdly, like for his album, but this is a huge cry for help, man. And it's sad. And ever since his mom left, he's been doing this. And obviously, he doesn't have the greatest support staff around him with, Kim Kardashian. I don't know him as a fucking person. I don't know what he's like. I appreciate his music. I love his music. I listen to it a lot when I work out. He is a fucking genius. He's probably, I think, artistically better than Jay-Z. Jay-Z has had a longer career. And if Kanye gets his shit together, I think he can be good. But we're watching an Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Charlie Sheen just blow up right in front of us. And the sad part is like no one around him will help him.
Well, yeah, I mean, his wife, who should be like his rock to lean on, her response to him was via Twitter.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? And then you want to talk about like a celebrity marriage that's like a shell of an actual relationship? I mean, there we go. Like, there's no way that that's an actual marriage.
Well, how long do they film the Kardashian show? What, 6 months out of the year?
This may be a dumb question. Is he even on that show?
No, he's not. That's why he's in Wyoming, because they were filming.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So he doesn't come on the show, so he's by himself while they're filming. So
And
that can't be
Kim-
helping.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Kim's like on the phone with him occasionally, but at least he gets himself the fuck out of there, dude. Like, God, can you imagine?
I mean, like I said, man, Jeff Fisher always said, "Oh, I got a bad quarterback. I got a bad quarter." Well, after a while, you got to look in the mirror. Is Kanye crazy? Let's look at the Kardashians' fucking list of people that they fucking drove nuts. Maybe it's because of what they're fucking cooking in there. I'm not sure. I mean, you can look at they've been they made Bruce Jenner a woman.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive. Like, Kanye's crazy and the Kardashians are the scum of the earth. They both exist. Now, the worst possible place for him to be is where he is. And surface value, like Matt read the tweet about Get Out, we all laugh. And then the more you talk about it, you're like, actually, what the fuck? Maybe he kind of is.
What does that even mean? Like, I can't even get high enough to dissect this. I'm not even sure what it means.
The banner hasn't rolled enough joints for us to properly break this down.
That's all I watched. It's 2020, and I can't wait for what comes next. This is great. Great year. Great year, guys. Keep it up. Great job, America.
All right, guys, let's lighten things up. Labor of Love, the reality show. Matt, we did this last week. Before we get into the finale of it, we are a week behind. But why don't you give people the elevator pitch on what Labor of Love is? What makes it unique as a reality television show?
Right? Cool. This is basically like it, except we're taking it a step further. This chick doesn't want to get married. She wants to have a kid right now because she's 41 and never had a kid. And all these guys are full of sperm and just want to fucking put it in her and have a kid because they're all in their 40s or high 30s. So they're ready to cut through the bullshit. Let's date. Let's find out if we have something. And we might get married. We might not, but we're definitely going to try to have a kid.
Yeah. We need to have a segment on Fox where it's like Matt describes a show in 30 seconds. I'm gonna save you fucking time. This is what happens. Now, Boehner, before we get into what happened in the finale episode, you haven't got to talk about this show in like several weeks on here.
It's been a while.
So, what's been on your chest about Labor of Love that you just like? Oh man, this has really been weighing me down. I got to get
So going back a little ways. I'm surprised Alan didn't make it further.
Yeah.
I
don't think he wanted to go further.
Yeah, I don't think he did either, but I also feel like she drug him along, and I thought she was going to drag him along farther. Trent, fucking bro.
By the way, Trent follows us on Twitter. Trent, if you're listening to this, he's not, but he is. Come on the podcast, dude.
Come on, man. We want to know behind the scenes because they're not going to have a men's tell-all, which is bullshit.
Yeah. And Matt, the more we talked about it, we'll get into this at the end, but candidates that might get a male version of Labor of Love, I would love a Trent run. Labor of Love.
What a fucking train wreck. That'd be awesome.
A Trent.
If you have Trent and then a bunch of people like Trent, put all those women together.
Unlike this season, there's going to be fucking in the Trent season.
Yeah. Marcus. What the fuck?
Even the Atlanta Falcons are like, dude, that's a collapse right there.
That was a New York Yankees 3-0 lead fucking breakdown there. Like, what the hell, dude? You just got to win one game at home. Like, come on.
Matt, I thought of this analogy the other day. You remember the scene in, it's Hannibal, where Ray Liotta has his brains cooked and then he has to eat them? He's going insane. That was like Marcus when he brought down all the rainbow-colored pants and was like prancing around the living room with them. I'm like, have you literally lost your mind?
He needs to get a hobby.
Well, the only friend that he has is his house mom, who, similar to Kanye, is on his payroll.
That's house mom.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the finale. So I have a few notes here that'll, I think, get the conversation started, and then obviously anything you guys want to add or supplement with, just jump on in. So going into the finale episode, we have Stuart and Kyle. I think we can all agree Stuart was the safe bet, low risk. I don't want to say low reward, but because he has a lot to offer, but Christy just wasn't that attracted to him. And it wasn't that Kyle was some flyer or some wild card, but again, Matt, you and I talked about this off pod. Christy, I think, got down to the end and realized, I'm not really feeling either of these guys.
So, listen, this show and the premise I really like. And I would really like to watch the very first ever season of The Bachelor and compare it to this, because obviously this show's brand new. So we got to take that in consideration. But saying that, Jeff, the free ride is over. So I'll just tell you about the back alley abortion of this fucking finale. So first off, I feel like Kurt Lazarus from Tropic Thunder. Christy, it's called emotion. I don't see it. Like, where is it? Where is it? The entire fucking episode, every episode. She does not have fun. She cries sometimes. I've never seen her have fun on a date. I've never seen her connect to any guy. She kisses a guy like you do after a first date when you're like, hey, we're never going to talk to each other again, are we? That's pretty much how she kisses like every fucking guy. Usually going into a finale of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, you got 2, 3, maybe 4 people, and you're like, man, he or she is in love with 3 of these fucking people. And if they get rid of 2 of them, it's going to be a big fucking deal. I didn't feel anything with any of these people. Now, Stuart.
Because every date, sorry to interject real quick, every date to her is like a business transaction, really.
Even she's like, so Kyle, like that, even the way she talks to him is just so like a job interview. Mm-hmm. It's so fucking weird. So we all know this is 2020 and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on and everything. But one thing that's front and center is, the racism that's going on in America. Chrissy had an opportunity to end that, and apparently she didn't get that memo, Ryan, because she even quoted and said, Stuart is everything I want. He crosses off every box, but I choose Kyle. I am Team Stuart. I had a Stuart hat on, and I fucking loved it, because if anyone said, well, Stuart shouldn't get it, I could just say, you're racist. Get out of my face. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because Stuart is perfect. And you got to be careful, though, watching this with your significant other, because if you say Stuart is perfect, whenever you don't take out the trash, now women know that you know what perfect is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can play dumb like we're men and we're idiots, but we actually know that Stuart did everything right. Now, at first, me and Jeff were saying he always offers her a drink. This is stupid, but that's just the way he is. He's not fake.
No, he's not.
He's just a generally nice guy.
I think girls, this is not an indictment on women at all, because guys are the same way, but Stuart was, and maybe as a 41-year-old, Christy can't have the same criteria for evaluating a guy, but he's just too safe, almost to the point where she's like, life with him won't be fun, And I get that, but do you actually want a life with one of these guys? Because the way she went about it,
not fun. So
I agree, which it's weird that she wants someone.
I watched this show every episode. I couldn't tell you anything about her, like anything fun at all. I'm not even sure where she went to school. I don't know where she works. Everything was a job interview. She was asking questions of them. I have no clue about her. Now, the other thing, I don't know if you guys noticed this. When the families met each other, Christy's mom had a notepad where she'd look down and ask questions. Does anyone else notice this?
I did notice that, actually.
Okay, good.
How did I miss that?
Because didn't you think that was weird?
It's got to be weirder for Stuart.
I wasn't sure if it was if she was asking, like, she was reading questions off of it, or if it had like everybody's name on it.
What's worse?
That's even weirder. Yeah.
Yeah, that is even weirder.
After seeing her parents though, how does she come from them and her sisters? I don't get it.
Dude, her and her two sisters all look like basically a different species. They look so different.
Didn't it suck whenever I was like, let's enter the younger sister? I'm like, ooh, younger Christy. Okay, I'm kind of interested in that. Then I was like, wonder if she'll like men that much. And yeah, she was putting the guys through the fucking ringer. So I was wondering if you saw that, which was extremely weird, the parents' conversation. And then the dad didn't say anything to Stuart, but then had a one-on-one with Kyle, just basically asking, so, do you have enough money to support my daughter? I'm like, your daughter's 41. All she does is work. I think, we're good here. And then Kyle said,
hold on. I want to go back. Yeah. The way he answered that was like, oh yeah, of course. Dude, you have no fucking money.
Well, clearly. So he just said like the word internet startup, and Christy's dad probably doesn't know what that
Austin,
means. So
Texas.
He's like, oh, so you must have like invented the internet then. Well, fuck, then we're good. I mean, shit.
No offense, guys. If you're part of a startup in Austin, Texas, there's a lot of social group that you can interact with. There's a lot of startups in Austin, Texas, so don't be too thrilled about that. Now, the last thing I'll say, so the big payoff here is the finale. Who does she choose? Well, before she chooses it, Banner, we're going to roll the fucking credits. What the fuck are we doing? She hasn't even said who she chooses, and the credits are rolling. He's like, Kyle, I choose you. Huh, that's awesome. Okay, let's go to the fertility doctor. Kyle, you have good sperm. Christy, you're 41. You froze your eggs. Yeah, you're good. Start having sex. Which makes no fucking sense. If she froze her eggs, then why not put a sperm in the egg, like in vitro? Why have sex? Because she's 41. Her eggs might not be good anymore.
I could answer
no fucking sense.
Sex if you want me to.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's sex.
This show fucking sucks. I think it would have been better with Christy, but without Christy, I'll be really interested as the guy next time. What's that?
I think it was poorly cast.
Very. Because Christy was just a wet blanket. She wasn't. I thought at first, whenever she got rid of the guys that were troublemakers, I'm like, hey, this is different. You're not keeping them along just for ratings. I like this. But she had no personality at all. I mean, I don't know anything about her. I've never seen her have fun. It was just a job interview all the time. Sucks.
I think part of the problem is, too, we only got 8 episodes. The Bachelor's what, like 15?
Yeah. See, I actually kind of like that, though. I mean,
sample size of us getting to know these people is lower. And there's almost an episode and a half dedicated to Alan, and one dedicated to Matt, and one dedicated to Keith. So there were all these other people that got kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I was telling Geiger, I think one of the problems with the show is so much of it, and I get that's kind of the premise, but it's also kind of a romantic show too, was spent on which of these guys would be a better parent in a group competition. And as a result, or at the expense of that, Christy never really got to romantically know any of the guys. Yeah. All of it was like basically like a litmus test on, can you be a father? And at the end of the day, she realizes at the end, like, fuck, I really don't have a romantic connection to either of these two guys. Now, Banner, do you have anything else you want to add, or do we want to?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Stuart was the safe bet, and I don't understand why in her position she wouldn't have just picked Stuart. Clearly, because like her big thing was Kyle lives in a studio apartment. He's not ready to have a family because of his living situation now when he's 40 and single. Whereas Stuart was like, hey, this is going to be our house, which was a nice fucking house, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, Stuart's like almost too rich. I'm like,
yeah, I think that was part of the thing. I think maybe she's used to being the alpha, and I think she was intimidated by Stuart.
Do we want Stuart to be the next guy?
No.
Stuart, I mean this as a compliment.
So you're racist?
No, Stuart is too stable to be.
He's too straight. Yeah, he's too straight-laced.
I guess I love Trent,
be on
but
the
I feel
verge
bad
of
for
a mental
Stuart,
breakdown.
Man. If this show is real, like we're not trying to make a joke of it, I feel bad for Stuart because he was there for all the right reasons, and I think that he would actually be a good dad.
But I told you this. I think this show painted Stewart in such a positive light that if we're talking about like his real life going forward, I mean, he's in great shape, dude. That guy, he's gonna be fine. I'm surprised he even needed to come on the show. Like, I don't know what's happened in his life to where he's not with somebody, but I think this will help. All right, now before we move on, Brian, you ready to blow Matt's mind here?
Please.
So, Matt,
real quick,
yes.
Matt, does Christy look familiar to you?
Was she in porn?
No.
Close.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Was she in like a soap opera? Like
Again, close.
cheerleader? I don't know.
She was on season 11 of The Bachelor.
Pre-nose job.
What? Was she now? Okay.
Pre-nose job. Now go look her up. Christy, season 11 of The Bachelor. She actually made it relatively far, Banner. I believe final 6.
Do we know who the Bachelor was?
You could probably look it up in a quick second.
Yeah, hold on. I'll look it up.
Season 11 of The Bachelor. And now, Banner, you told me this. So this was taped, obviously, several months ago. Give the people an update on what you know about Christy and Kyle right after the show ended.
So, from what I learned from my wife looking it up, they are not together. That after the show wrapped and they actually started to actually date and try and, get to know each other on a more intimate, more romantic level, they realized we are two completely different people in completely different periods in our life, and they are no longer together. But she is going
Christy was a bitch, and Kyle realized he could get a 28-year-old. Okay, keep going.
Yep. And Christy is currently going through in vitro.
On her own.
On her own.
So just getting a sperm donor?
Correct.
Yes. So
and
she's
Kyle,
doing what she said she was going to do. I mean, in my opinion, why didn't she just say, because this was an option on the table, neither. I'm going to do it on my own.
I actually thought for a while that she was going to pick that.
I thought she was too.
Why not adopt?
Sure. She might have got pressure from the producers to be like, dude, you got to we can't do this and then not pick a guy,
I don't know. I would have liked it more if she didn't.
I think that would have kind of been cool. Another thing, I didn't watch it, but I was told that Stewart and Kyle did like an Instagram live during the finale together.
Really?
Which would have been kind of cool to watch.
They seem like they were bros.
Apparently because they were giving each other shit, and Joel's like, wow, they fucking hate each other. I'm like, no, dude, that's how friends talk to each other.
Yeah.
That was not, that was like, they were just busting each other's balls.
Exactly. It's the difference between men and women. All right. That's probably way more of Labor of Love than anyone out there who hasn't seen.
Put a nail in that coffin.
I almost think it's more fun to listen to it if you don't have the context. You're like, what the fuck is this? Anything you guys want to add before we move on to the very last part of our show?
No.
What's that, Brian? And that brings us to the question and answer segment of our show. Do you even lift bra? So similar to last week and the beginning of this episode where we do the music and movies of our lives, last week for Do You Even Lift Bra, Matt answered the same movie questions we did earlier in the show, but for music, and we're going to do the same today for myself. So Matt, why don't you get us started?
Music and movies of Jeff Hornassek's life. That's it. That's the intro. All right. Artist or band you can't stand.
Not going to get a lot of flack for this. Green Day. I mean, they're absolutely fucking awful, dude.
Wow.
They suck.
But they have their own musical, Jeff. To
make things worse, they do? What's it called? That's gross.
I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, but I'm pretty sure they have their own musical.
That's disgusting. The only thing that's worse than a band that sucks is a band that sucks and is really political. That's them.
I don't know if I agree with you on this.
I'm shocked
it's because it can't stand. If it was overrated, I would give it to you because Dookie and International Superstar, their first couple albums were fucking fire. Now, I'll give you American Idiot when they got really political about the war in Iraq. I get that. I cannot stand that. The Chili Peppers actually kind of follow that same.
That's what the play is called.
What?
The play is called American Idiot.
I can't stand the war in Iraq, Dad.
American Idiot, I guess. Is
okay.
So they named their album and the play.
Honestly, man, like Nice Guys finished last. Take Me to Paradise. Even Time of Your Life, I like that song. I like their early shit. Like Dookie's a great album. International Longview's a great song. Brain Stew.
Go re-listen to Time of Your Life. You romanticize.
I did the other day.
Okay, but it sounds way better in your head than another turning boy.
I mean, it's
God,
not one of my
really?
favorite ones of them because it's overplayed, but there's some deep tracks of them like Brain Stew, Longview. What else? Like there's a water song.
Every band has some good songs. I just
I
can't
know.
find
Trust me. They take themselves way too seriously, and they think they can sway a vote in a state, which I hate. But like their early stuff was actually pretty good, and then they just got too full of themselves. I mean, I hate them now. I think Billy Joe Armstrong is a fucking douche, but
yeah, he was on one of those like Zoom concerts, and I was literally just like, I wish this wasn't live so I could fast forward through him. And he played for like 4 minutes. I'm like, Jesus
Banner,
Christ,
you like
dude.
Green Day? Like their early shit, like 90s?
Eh,
You take him or leave him.
not a real
All right.
big
It's
music fan of
interesting
Eminem.
because you guys are like me. Like, I mean, I like punk rock, so they were punk. They were punk rock in the 90s.
Banner's like, this is not a battle I want to fight. I don't really care enough.
Not a hill he's
Yeah.
gonna die. I understand.
Look,
that.
honestly,
I'm not backing Green Day at all. I'm just saying that I will listen to pretty much 100% of their shit if it's like 96 or earlier.
Devil's Advocate, that's Banner's favorite game.
yeah, favorite game. All right, Jeff, band or artist do you feel is most overrated?
This is great.
Oh, man. So this one is hard because I actually like a couple of this guy's songs. But I think on the whole, people talk about him like, holy fuck, creative genius, stop traffic. And it's Post Malone.
Yes. Thank you.
He's got a couple ditties, man. Like Circles is an incredible song. Sunflower from the Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack is great. But dude, anybody that sits here and tries to put him in the same, I heard someone, I don't know where the fuck it was, but I literally like almost crashed my car, said that he's like lyrically as talented as Marshall Mathers.
Get the fuck out of here.
Which is like a laughable notion because he's maybe like the best lyricist of all time. But Post Malone is a talented artist for sure. He has a pretty unique sound. But we have him on this god tier in a pretty large like subset of music fans. And that needs to fucking stop, or at least have the brakes pumped for about 2 decades and 4 albums, you know? Like, let's fucking chill out.
How long has he been a thing?
Like 5-6 years.
So, I don't think in 5-6 years you could put him on that pedestal. It takes at least 20 to get up to that.
No,
level.
I said 2 decades or 4 or 5 albums.
Right.
All right.
I missed that. I was just.
And you need to
reiterating what you said.
transition, just like the Beatles, Eminem did, all great artists did, Aerosmith. I mean, you need to change with the times. I mean, Aerosmith in the 70s does not sound like Aerosmith in the 90s. This is the thing about Post Malone, which if someone tells me he's a musical genius, I will kind of let them talk for a while. And that's because he does a bunch of different types of music. He raps, he rocks, but people don't understand about music is that every music actually, it all kind of intergrains and then kind of branches out like a tree. It all starts the same root. You go back to Elvis or jazz. I mean, then it created rhythm and blues, which created just the blues. Then it created rock and roll. And then rock and roll kind of branched out to Southern rock. And then you got hard rock and metal rock and then bluesy rock. And so every music, it's only music today that's like, so are you pop or are you country?
Yes.
Or are you rock? Like
yes.
What? I mean, that's the problem.
And I don't understand why
you
can't be all three.
Right. Because Banner, like last week, I know you weren't on, but my favorite genre of music does not exist. Case in point, if you've seen the Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga movie, fuck, am I blanking on that? Stars Born. What Bradley Cooper plays, that's my favorite type of music. I like a guy with cowboy boots, long hair, and a beard, but he's not a country singer. He's like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's like Creedence Clearwater Revival. He plays like Southern rock, rhythm, and blues. And that...
It's like, just because I like Jack Daniels doesn't make me a country artist.
Right. And that isn't... I mean, they're not singing about their dog. They're not singing about a breakup or a truck. They're singing
he's not really singing at all.
Bradley Cooper isn't?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
I mean... He kind of, never mind. What? Spoils the movie.
But yeah, anyway, man, it's so, music is just so weird right now. And Post Malone, I do like him because he's kind of integrating everything, which I think hopefully, a lot of these big budgets will be like, hey man, let's let the artists kind of fly on this. Maroon 5, perfect example. They wanted to be a rock band. They're like, no, your lead singer's cute with tattoos. Let's make you a love, ballad band. So hopefully that'll give them a little more creative freedom. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sorry. Jeff, most underrated band.
So I think you guys might have heard of these guys. AJR to me is my most underrated band. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. You probably know a few of their singles. They have a kind of unique sound. They're kind of like Weezer, but more mainstream, I guess. But that almost has a negative connotation in a lot of ways. I've heard like 4 or 5 of their songs the past 2 years, and every single one of them is an absolute banger. So AJR, check them out. Highly
Did you
recommend.
listen to Band of Heathens yet?
I have not, no.
Okay, I thought you would. That was my banner. You should check them out too. Great band.
Okay. Artist or band that you love?
Just referenced him, Weezer. Now, I know Rivers Cuomo is a fucking psychopath in real life. But if you want like a band, like if you said like, hey man, we're going on a road trip and you got to play one band, Weezer has like a straight up 35 songs that are just really easy to listen to. Like they just have a deep discography. Now a lot of that is Matt won't like this, but he knows the truth. They just don't take risks. Like everything they do sounds the fucking same pretty much. In fact, they probably get
I'm
more
a huge
mainstream.
Weezer fan. So.
No, I love them. Yeah, you and I were supposed to go see them in concert. I can't remember why we didn't. But if you asked for a band where I could just listen to like 40 of their songs back to back to back, really not even needing to know what they are, it would be Weezer.
I could have seen them 3 times. I have not seen them yet, and I'd love to see them. And you're right, Jeff. And that's just kind of, I mean, we're young 30s, so growing up, rock was fun. You got Weezer, Sum 41. All that rock was just fun, and it's not as fun anymore. It's like, are you hard rock or are you pop, pretty much? And Weezer falls in that category, man. Every one of their songs was so fucking fun to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how their albums are all just colors. So fucking simple.
This is my favorite question. So, what band or artist made you fall in love with music?
All right, I got one that I don't want to say will surprise you, but you might be like, defend that. And then the other one's just kind of obvious, but. The first one that I have is from my formative years in like 8th to 10th grade. And it was just because of what they did with different types of instruments. And they had a music that was kind of like the start of emo rock, but before it got really like self-indulgent. And that's Yellow Card.
Wow.
So Yellow Card was the first. Dude, what they did with the violin. Do you remember how they incorporated violin into their songs?
Yeah, and so their big Ocean Avenue is their big hit.
Way Away was a huge song.
And there's another one that I have on Spotify that I fucking love, where it's they scream the whole time.
Yeah, go back to that whole album. It's just great. And again, this was before emo rock was like so like fucking in it. Like it became too much of a thing in like the mid 2000s to where you were like, all right, does everyone hate their dad? Like someone's dad had to show up to their performances, right? We can't all hate him.
Only One. That's the song. You're my only one. Yeah, that's a good song too.
Banger. That's
interesting.
A banger, dude. Yeah, so they're a great one too. And then the other one, Matt, you talked about them last week, and I hate to double down, but it's true. This band made me appreciate music on a whole different level because I used to fall asleep listening to this album on shuffle and repeat, and that's Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Yes.
Just because. Oh my God! Dude.
I got to see him before a year before he died. I saw him live, and Chester didn't disappoint. It's great.
I'm jealous. I bet they kick ass in concert.
Even for somebody who doesn't listen to music, like I just don't listen to music at all, and if I do, it's usually like movie scores. That album fucks. I can still listen to that album today.
Oh yeah, I remember at like the very beginning of YouTube, or when YouTube was like becoming a place where you could actually search and like find something on it. People would edit like 90% of the video edits that I watched were done to some Linkin Park song, whether it was like Paper Cut or Numb or Crawling in My Skin. Like their shit was just like, what if you wanted a video to fuck, you edited it to a Linkin Park song.
So going like really into sports when I was growing up. So I'd go to my friends, like we'd have garage gyms and shit. Hybrid Theory and Meteora were two CDs that did not have a fucking bad song on them. Like you could play them start to finish, and they just fucking bang the entire time. And what was weird about Linkin Park was girls liked them.
Mm-hmm.
Like chicks like Linkin Park. Like that. I mean, it's not like Rob Zombie or Marilyn Manson or something like that. But man, they were. And talk about, you were talking about incorporating the violin, Jeff. In Linkin Park and Rage kind of did this before him, and Beastie Boys for sure. But it was rap rock. Like it was just something you don't hear every day. Like Chester screamed, and the other guy, I can't remember his name, but he rapped, and it was fucking awesome.
Think about how he says the lyrics to "In the End." I mean, you're just like, dude, fuck society.
In the End is such a great song.
Yeah, and I can't remember the other vocalist, but this is another thing too, and this was the same thing with Tom and Mark in Blink. Chester's voice and his voice complement each other so well and do such different things that they could do things with their songs that most bands couldn't, that they just couldn't pull off. It'd be like if you had two quarterbacks and one was like a really good scrambler and the other was a great pocket passer. You had them on the field at the same time. It's not even fair.
I mean, Lying Away From You, Don't Stay, Hit the Floor, Somewhere I Belong. God, there's so many
Let me go on and
on. Crawling.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So we've determined that we can listen to this over and over again. Is that your over and over again?
No, it's
Jeff?
not. And I'm kind of cheating here because it's a couple bands that don't have enough songs to them alone get here. But I'll just say the obscure 90s alt bands. And a few I thought of are like Third Eye Blind, Sum 41, Lit especially. Again, them combined probably don't have enough for like one good album, but I have a playlist on my iTunes that's like 90s obscure music. It's called 90s something, but it's basically bands that had like one or two good songs. I think Eagle Eye Cherry's on there too.
Yeah, nice.
But I don't fucking care. Did you put them on anytime, any party, and I'll just listen to them over and over again. I know they're not great bands, but they saw one good fastball and they fucking destroyed it.
Summer hits of the 90s on Pandora is what you want to type in if you want that. I listen to that all the time.
Sold.
All right, Jeff, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. What's the band that changed your life?
Oh, the band you're thinking of, Matt, will make an appearance on this list, but
right.
I have no fucking guilt about them. So you can fuck off. Guys, this is a band that I love, and they're easy to make fun of, but their shit fucks, and that's Good Charlotte. I like Good Charlotte. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Girls and
Are you
Boys.
in fifth grade?
Girls and Boys.
Yeah, they're good.
The River is really good. I mean,
I don't know about really good.
Re-listen to it, bro. It's too deep for you, actually. Why am I even trying to It's
Fuck
art.
Your dad sucks. That's like the first lyric. Like,
actually,
what?
the other vocalist in The River does sing about, like, hey, parents, you need to let your kids go. And if they come back, then you parented them right. But if they don't, then you know why. So you're not wrong. That's what that music was about. Early 2000s fucking emo rock. But I like Good Charlotte, man. And maybe part of it's because their lyrics are just so easy to make fun of, but they're still really fun. Because I don't even know if they took themselves as seriously as they pretended to. There's no way.
No.
This is just becoming now that's what I call music. Fucking greatest hits right now. Go ahead, Banner.
Surprised. Or something that you didn't think you would like, but you ended up liking.
Oh, I actually didn't have this one down. I think we skipped this one last week. But I can probably do this one. So didn't think I liked. Let's go with Kesha's new album.
It fucks too.
Now Kesha before was an absolute joke of an artist. Like she talked about like brushing her teeth with whiskey and all this stupid shit. Then it came out that she actually had a pretty traumatic experience. She was, I believe, sexually assaulted by her producer.
Yep.
And some other shit
had her out of her contract.
Correct. And now her new album, she basically just puts him on blast. And the song Praying, if you get me like 4 beers deep in the Uber home and that song comes on, I mean, you better fucking put in the earplugs because I'm about to belt it out. I was surprised by Kesha's new album. Also, another artist, female artist, who I really don't like her acting. I'm tired of Hollywood trying to push her on me as someone who's attractive. I'm sure she's a nice lady, but I like Haley Steinfeld's music.
Oh.
I mean, fucking sue me.
All right. What? I've been waiting for. What's your guilty pleasure? Something that you're gonna turn down at the gym so the headphones aren't too loud so people don't hear it, but you dig.
Wasn't that Good Charlotte?
No. Okay. Good Charlotte was your guilty pleasure? Yeah. I hope so. Because I was about to. I asked what band changed your life. You said Good Charlotte.
No,
I'm like, didn't. Really?
I'm pretty guilty pleasure. But
what band changed your life then?
I was gonna say Good Charlotte definitely didn't fucking change my life.
I was asking. You kept saying I love Good Charlotte. I'm like, so Good Charlotte changed your life? Like how?
Maybe I was just locked in on my list because I didn't write down one for band who changed my life. But again, that's probably one that I can fucking make up here. Band who changed my life. Fuck. Let's come back to me on that one. Can we skip that one?
Yes. Well, who's best live then?
I saw Blink-182 at Barclays in Brooklyn, right after Matt Skiba had joined the band. I mean, you knew Blink, who's my favorite band of all time, was going to make this list at some point. And it was just a fucking awesome show, dude. Matt, you and I saw them live also in Dallas, and they played all of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which is pretty fucking cool.
I love when they play all of a CD. I love that. That's a great little thing that they should never get rid of when it's like a 20th anniversary or something like that.
Yeah, and he like announced it before. He was like, hey, by the way, we're about to play this whole album all the way through, and everybody just fucking freaks out.
Great.
What's a band that you should have seen live by now that you haven't?
So this is a band that I unapologetically, legitimately like. They're the greatest pop band of all time. You can fucking sit here and laugh. Oh, fucking boy band. The Backstreet Boys are incredible artists, and they're still around 30 years later making fucking bangers. So I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. They're incredible. Now, God, for whatever reason, thinks it's funny to sell me tickets to the Backstreet Boys and then literally have some sort of cosmic emergency happen that I can't see them. I had tickets to see them at a casino with Cycly and some other people. 2 hours before the show, this was an outdoor concert, a stanchion, like a tower outside of the arena, fell and killed a couple fans. So the concert was canceled about 2 hours before. I was supposed to go see them in August, locally where I live. In addition, God didn't think it was enough to just postpone my wedding. So he said, I'll continue this global pandemic, and now you also can't see the Backstreet Boys. So they've already moved that concert. So I'm 0 for 2 on them, and at this point, because they've been around so long, Kevin, I'm looking at you. Don't die. Stay alive.
I'll just say, man, I wanted to make fun of you, but going with our wives and getting drunker and shit and singing I Want It That Way doesn't sound like that bad a way to spend like $50. So exactly. I wouldn't. I'm not against it. I'll say that. Even though mine was Rage Against the fucking Machine, but I'm not against it.
Potato, tomato, really.
Yeah.
All right, I have my...
yeah.
I have
basically the same band.
If we're ready. It's not a band, though.
Okay.
It's not a band, it's a song and a moment. It's the song See You Again by Wiz Khalifa.
Wow.
The Paul Walker tribute song. Again, I hate to get morbid here on the Bro Force Squad. It's not really what we do, but as far as like valuing your life, because you never know, man. It could just be fucking taken from you at any moment. And wanting to leave a legacy where people are like, all right, that guy was not a piece of shit. I actually liked him. Wiz Khalifa, I knew was incredibly talented, but that song just...
It hits different.
Even if you did not like the Fast and Furious movies and were just kind of like peripherally aware of Paul Walker, try to listen to that song and not feel something inside. And if you don't, you're just dead as an individual. Like, you don't have a heart. I don't think.
It's a great fucking song, especially the last scene.
Ugh. You thought you could leave without saying goodbye? Oh my god, I'm fucking dying.
Him turning in off like the exit ramp and
like it should have been Vin.
I wish it were me. So do we.
I wish it was me. Not really. I need money.
Who else is gonna say I'm Groot? Anyone? I don't fuck.
Anyone else ever?
Literally anybody else. All right, guys. Quite the episode. I mean, we got a little off the rails as we always do at the end. But Banner, what do you want to leave the people with for episode 122?
Please, it is more important than ever to make sure you pull over for emergency vehicles. You never know who's in the back of that ambulance. Or maybe it's your house on fire.
That's true. Maybe the wife was making pot roast again.
Yep. Even though you told her not to.
Yeah, because it tastes like shit.
Actually,
Geiger?
Love.
I know,
Banner
pot roast. I was going to say, well, yeah, no, we're not talking about it
I'm
anymore.
gonna start a banner thing. Ladies, don't forget to freeze your eggs because you never know.
God, way to one-up Banner now. He's like, actually,
It's like, yeah. What's more important?
and guys, for the movies and music of our lives, go back to episode 121 for Matt's. And I don't want to make promises he might not be able to keep, but we're hoping we can do Brian Banner's next week.
He's gonna have to start listening to music.
As we all know,
Yeah.
will be by far the most anticipated and definitely the most unpredictable.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
That's a sell if I've ever heard it. All right, for the mad scientist Brian Banner and our enforcing the Paint Matt Geiger, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornassek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to us. You can check us out on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Letterboxd. Did I say YouTubed with a D? You know the website. There's no D on the end. YouTube and Letterboxd, type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, and you'll find us there. And you can find everything on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we need to go listen to more Good Charlotte. It changes all of our lives. Didn't the lead singer of that marry Nicole Richie?
I think you're right.
Yeah, was that the one with Paris Hilton on there?
Yeah.
I think he did. I mean, they're obviously divorced now because Hollywood.
Yeah, who would want to be married to Good Charlotte?
You know it's a bad marriage when he's like the lead singer.